Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear brothers and sisters, how are you today? This might be a long one. I'm gonna go a bit deep. I am in Irvine, California, near the University of Irvine. Out in a cafe. There's some background music, so hopefully it doesn't distract. Do let me know, whoever's out there, if you can hear me, if you can't hear me. So this is, take a look at this. This is the cover of a story my kids wrote. My kids meaning my two younger kids. Okay? And so this story is crazy. This is an incredible story that they wrote. Check out this story that they wrote. Story. Pictures. All this writing. This story. The end. Then they got some more pictures here. Okay. So I don't know if for those of you, well, first of all, greetings to those of you who are new to the Men of Deen podcast. Men of Deen is a matchmaking agency, and the focus of Men of Deen is to bring together practicing Muslims for marriage. Practicing brothers on one hand, practicing sisters on the other hand, and I make the matches. I've got roughly 18 years of recruiting experience working for major Fortune 500 companies, predominantly fashion brands, and I travel the world and I find them employees, and these are primarily executive candidates. And so if I can find executives for fashion brands, I can definitely find practicing sisters for practicing brothers. And the key phrase or the key word is practicing. If you're not on your deen and you're not sure about marriage and you're not sure if you want to get married, I'm not the one to help you find your spouse. Now, if you're not sure if you want to get married, we can have a conversation and we can kind of get you in that direction. But in terms of helping you find a spouse, I only work for brothers who are focused and ready to find their wife. Likewise with sisters, if you know you want to complete your deen and you're ready, I'm your man, inshallah. If you're not sure, we can talk. I can help to get you there. Inshallah, you'll watch the content that I'm putting out, and it will help you to get to a place where you are sure. And so the content of the podcast is geared towards brothers and sisters who are looking to get married or ready to get married, with tips on how to find your spouse and how to make sure that you are ready to be the spouse, to be the husband, to be the wife that you are seeking. And so this episode today, this broadcast today, it's part of a series called the Fajr. I forget what I called it. It's called the Fajr series. And so this is every morning when I wake up, I pray Fajr. Well, I wake up my kids, we pray Fajr together. After Fajr, we have a halaqah, and I just read from the Quran, and I I kind of give my thoughts, and we have a discussion on what I read. It's not the liveliest discussion, being that it's like 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning. But in any case, it's just me trying to embed in their mind this memory of waking up, praying Fajr, and how that's the first thing that they do every single day. And so today I read a surah that I wanted to kind of talk to you about. And so what does that have to do with this? So for those of you who tuned in, I think it was on Monday, I told you that my kids got in a fight, not a physical fight, but they had an argument, and the argument that they had involved friends, and it was outside in public, and that's a no-no. That's a no-no on every level. And so they got in trouble, and the punishment was I made them run. I made them run 10 miles. I made my middle son, he ran 10 miles, 1 mile on the hour every hour until he hit his 10 miles. And then my daughter, she ran 7 miles every hour on the hour until she hit her 7 miles. And I told them that if they and that they would, and they were leaving, and so they would be back on Wednesday. They were leaving to go at their mom's place, and they'd be back on Wednesday. And so I told them that if that they would have to run again on Wednesday. It's very important for me, and it's very important. It's even more important for them that they cultivate a good relationship with each other. And I have to set boundaries, and one of those boundaries is the respect that they have for each other, especially in public. You cannot disrespect each other in public. There's no way. It's bad enough that sometimes this stuff happens at home, but there's no way they can do it in public and involve other people and, taking sides with friends and all of this stuff. That's a no. So I wanted them to remember this. But to remember it, they had to feel the pain, And so I told them that on Wednesday when they got back, they were going to be running again. And that the only way they could avoid running again is to write me a story. And they had to write the story together, and there couldn't be any fighting. They had to figure it out. One wrote the story, one did the pictures, and it had to be a very good story. It had to be a very high quality story. It couldn't be just some, stupid, some stupid story. And so this is what they produced. This tells me that they really didn't want to run. They really didn't want to run, alhamdulillah, because I really didn't want to make them run. Although, I'm grateful for the benefits that they derive from running 10 miles, 7 miles. I'm grateful for the benefit because they learn to have a relationship with suffering. They learn to have a relationship with pain, and it's one that we all have to have. If you don't have a relationship with pain and suffering at some level, that becomes the thing that you fear, and the thing that you fear will control you. And so we all must have a relationship with suffering and pain. Obviously you're not going to jump off of a bridge. There's a level to pain and suffering, obviously, but you have to have a relationship with suffering and pain. But let's leave that for another episode. And so because they wanted to avoid the pain of running, the suffering that comes with running this much, they wrote a story. And so how does that connect with the surah that I read? Well, let's get into it. As it were, these kids over here have the entire place to skate, but they're skating like right next to me. Anyway, alhamdulillah. I won't say anything. Well, I might say something if they persist, because they actually shouldn't be skating around here anyway. But I'll give them a few minutes. I'll be patient. A little bit patient. Okay, so hey fellas, could you not skate around here, if you don't mind? I don't mind the area, but I'm on a podcast, you know. Thank you. There we go. All right, so I read to them Surah Al-Nisa. This is Surah 66. If we had ordered them to sacrifice their lives or to leave their homes, very few of them would have done it. But if they had done what they were actually told, it would have been best for them and would have gone farthest to strengthen their faith. I'll read that again. If we had ordered them to sacrifice their lives or to leave their homes, very few of them would have done it. But if they had done what they were actually told, it would have been best for them and would have gone the farthest to strengthen their faith. Okay. Alhamdulillah. So I get several things from this. The first thing that I get is that there's nothing more important that you can do in this life, in this dunya, than to take action to strengthen your faith. There's no endeavor that's more important. There's no company that you can build. There's no person that you can marry. There's no sacrifice that you can make. There's nothing more important that you can do than making endeavors to strengthen your faith. Period, full stop. Okay? How do we know that there's nothing more important? Because the price that they're wagering is the two things that people value most in this life. That is, okay, sacrifice their life. It's their life. It's their life. It's your life. And then the second thing is to leave your home. Like this is security. This is the ultimate security, right? Your home provides the ultimate security. So home implies a warm bed, it implies family, it implies love, it implies food, comfort, protection. Okay, these are the two things. This is what people live and die for. You know, this is what people migrate from one land to another land, is for the security that a home provides and to preserve your life. And the most important things in life that you can sacrifice are to strengthen your faith. Subhanallah. Okay? And so, why would you do this? Like, why would you do it? You know, like it's one thing to think about these ideas in abstract and to look at this and think, well, of course I would, but wait a second, you know. And I had this conversation with my kids. You know, if God asked me to sacrifice my life for His sake, would I do that? Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. You know, I asked my kids this question. It was a good conversation because you don't really think about it. You know, if God asked me to give up my home, to leave my home and leave everything that I had worked so hard for, everything that I have, just leave it. Yeah, I would. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. You know, the place where I would vacillate and not be sure is that I want to make sure that it was God. You know, I want to make sure that this is God and this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted me to do. But once I got past that hump of trying to ascertain that this is the will of God, it wouldn't be hard for me to do. It wouldn't be hard at all. You know, But I can understand how it would be hard. I can really understand how it would be hard, you know. Because that's suffering. You know, that's suffering. But, you know, I understand that this is the ultimate price to pay. And this is why we have to have a relationship with suffering. This is why, you know, why would you do this? Like, the reason why you would do this, if God would ask you to sacrifice your life, why would you sacrifice your life? Well, you do it for one of two reasons. You do it for the fear of the hellfire, right? Or the hope of the akhirah. You don't want to go to hell, or you really want to go to heaven. And by making that sacrifice, that will prevent you from going to hell, and will inshallah grant you into paradise. This is why you would do it. This is the only reason why you would do it, you know. And so, tying this back to the situation with my kids and their punishment, and fathers, this is critically important for you fathers, present fathers, or men of Deen who will be fathers, about the critical nature of your role in the lives of your children, and the critical nature of making sure that you discipline your children, you know, that you don't lead them into a life of trying to avoid pain, and then pain and the avoidance of pain being what controls them, and allow anyone who has the ability to create pain in their life then controls them. Fathers, discipline your children, and if you have to bring the pain, then bring the pain. If you have to cause them suffering, cause them suffering. You know, that's love. That is love. I mean, I had my children run. I had them run long, and I had them run hard, and I had them run under time. That's hard, man. That's hard. You know, I remember track practice, and track practice was hell, man. You're running, you don't stop, and then have to run hills, and you vomit. You vomit even if you didn't eat anything. You vomit up your stomach acid, and then you go and you run again. And you're running hard. You're not jogging. You know, I know how hard that is. And what they did wasn't that hard, but given their stage in life and their age, it was pretty close to the equivalent. You know, it was tough. Why'd they do that? Why did they do it? Why did they do what I told them? But really, it's what I asked them. It's what I ask of them. You know, because they have a choice. They have a choice. You know, when I was a child, I had a choice. I could rebel, I could resist, I could say no, but I didn't. Why didn't I? Why didn't they? Why didn't they say, you know what, Daddy, running 10 miles is too much. I'm not going to do that. You can't make me. Why didn't they do that? Why didn't I do that? I didn't do that because I was afraid of my dad. My dad represented the hellfire. That's what he was to me. At a certain stage in my life, my dad represented the hellfire, and I would do anything to avoid the hellfire that my father would bring if I didn't listen to him, if I didn't obey his rules. And even when I broke his rules, you know, and he exacted punishment on me, I took that punishment because I didn't want him to get any more angry. I didn't even want to know what would happen if he became more angry. I was afraid. And that fear kept me in line until that fear morphed into respect and love and adoration. And I suspect that's why my kids took that punishment that I gave them and didn't resist, because they didn't want to see what would happen if they said no, if they resisted. I don't even think they contemplated resistance. I think they simply complied. You know, alhamdulillah for these kids, you know. And so let's go back to the surah. If we had ordered them to sacrifice their lives and to leave their homes, very few of them would have done it. But if they had done what they were actually told, it would have been best for them and would have gone farthest to strengthen their faith. So let's go back to this punishment that I gave my kids. Why did I do that? You know, I'm daddy, and I'm thinking ahead, and I'm thinking, I'm not always going to be here, you know, and I've been through many struggles in my life, and my kids will be going through lots of struggles in their lives. I don't know what the struggles are going to be, but I know that they're going to struggle. If they are on the straight path in a crooked world, they're going to struggle. If they're trying to raise children on the straight path in an ever devolving world, they're going to struggle. And they're going to need support. They're going to need the support of each other. They're going to need to be able to pick up the phone, or maybe they'll be living together. I don't know, but they're going to need to be able to support each other. You know, this 12-year-old boy is going to need to pick up the phone to his sister, you know, when he's 35 and say, hey, I'm going through something. You know, I need some advice. I need some help. You know, or maybe sister's going to want to send her, you know, send her kids to spend some time with their uncle, and they're going to need to have a tight relationship, you know. But for that tight relationship, for that beautiful bond to develop between them, it takes some work on my part. I have to set boundaries. I have to set standards, the way they speak to each other, the way they interact with each other. You know, I have to set those boundaries. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen by itself. It doesn't happen by itself. And so they had to pay the price, and they have to feel the fear so that the next time they go out and there's some kind of issue, that they don't let it digress to that level, that they have a certain level of respect for each other and this family. And whatever issues they have with each other, they save it for the house. And even in the house, there's a certain level of decorum in which they conduct themselves when they disagree. You know, it doesn't devolve into screaming and name-calling and pushing and shoving or any of that. You know, they understand, this is my brother, this is my sister. And although we disagree, we conduct ourselves with love and peace. Inshallah, inshallah. And so I'm the one that has to set that template. And so they had to feel the pain. And think of the blessings that come from them submitting to that punishment, you know, which really isn't punishment. I mean, it's punishment to them, but it's reward. It is reward, you know, aside from, you know, so, you know, the result is this subhanAllah, this great story that they wrote. You know, that will stand. It's a great story. And it really is a great story. You know, I might try and publish this for them, you know, and this will be a permanent testament to the strength of their relationship and to the power of discipline, you know. But it's a great work that they produced, and they made an effort to really, really work together. Like they really, really made sure that they didn't fight. They really made sure that they worked together in concert to produce a great work. And so on the surface, it's punishment, but it was best for them, you know. And then think about the physical benefits of them running, you know. My daughter's 10. She runs 7 miles. 7 miles. I couldn't do that when I was her age, you know. 7 miles? I couldn't even do that now. I mean, I could if I had to, and I'm sure they had to, but you know what I'm talking about. That's crazy. Like, the thing is, I'm the one who assigned the punishment, and I know it's crazy, you know. Amato's 12. He ran 10 miles every hour on the hour, like clockwork. You know, I set a standard, and I set it high, and they hit that standard. And they're better off for it. But if they had done what they were told, and because they did what they were actually told, it was best for them, and it went far to strengthen their faith. You know, it went far to strengthen their faith. You know, as fathers, you know, as parents, we are the representation of the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth. And the fear and respect that they have for us will translate into the fear and respect and love that they have for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is direct. And I am a witness to this. I am a recipient of this blessing. If not for the discipline, the fire that my father brought to my butt, I wouldn't have feared him, and he couldn't have controlled me, and I wouldn't have controlled myself, and I would not be a disciplined man today, and I would not have the respect and love that I have for my father, and I would not have the respect, love, and fear that I have for God, if not for the direct chain from my father to God. Fathers, don't hold back. Discipline your kids. That discipline is love, and it will yield fruits. Now, there's a line, and the line, you know, the line between discipline and abuse is quite simple. It's not a gray line at all. It's love. It's love. You know, when I punish my kids, I don't do it out of anger. I do it out of love, and the pain that I inflict upon them. I felt how hard it was for them to do that, you know. But I love them, and so I'll make sure, because listen, I see other kids acting out in the street. You know, I don't discipline them. They're my kids. It's not my job. And at a certain level I care, at a certain level I don't. It's simple. You know, it's not my responsibility to discipline those kids. It's not my responsibility to make sure that they know how to conduct themselves in the world. It's not my responsibility to make sure that these other kids, whoever they are, have a good relationship in the future and have support and da-da-da-da-da. It's not my responsibility, so keep it moving. I love them, but not like my kids. Nope, not like my kids. Okay? And it's because I love my kids. I make sure that I discipline them. I make sure that I teach them. I make sure that I direct them. And I make sure they follow through. And you best believe that if this story wasn't up to par, they would have been running again. They would have been running again. And I wouldn't blink. I wouldn't hesitate. Because I know what an undisciplined life looks like. It affects everything. It affects every outcome. You cannot achieve anything in this life without discipline. It's funny, you know, I was going to talk about something completely different. Well, not completely different, but I was going to go in a different direction. This just kind of took over. I think I'll leave it there today, and then I will continue this with the next broadcast, inshallah. Okay, but do me a favor. If you find this content beneficial, please share it. And if you're looking to complete your deen, if you're a brother who's on your deen, meaning that your deen is the center of your life, your relationship with God, and your decision to structure and shape your life around the will of God is primary in your life, and you want to get married, get in touch with me. You can email me directly at hearthunter@menofdeen.com. That is HERTHUNTER@menofdeen.com. Sisters, if you're on your deen, likewise, and you want to get married, please get in touch with me. If you know somebody who is, please share this content. And if you feel this content will be useful for somebody, spread it, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.